Folks, joining us right now, Dr. Cornel West, of course, who knew Reverend well. Dr. West, just share just your thoughts, the loss of this historic international titan when it comes to civil and human rights.
Well, brother, first, I just want to thank you for your work, though, brother. You've been persistent. You've been persevering all these years and still holding up the bloodstained banner. And I say that in the name of the Black freedom struggle that produced the Jesse Jackson. And he's not isolated. You know that. We got Martin, we got Malcolm, we got Fannie Lou, you got Ella Baker. He is a great wave in the river of our movement, of our struggle for freedom. And he's a world historical figure. Ain't no doubt about that. Nobody like that, brother. So much genius, so much style, so much sense of service, willingness to sacrifice, tell truths against the grain. I don't have a language to describe and capture his genius, though, brother, but I can tell you this, because I follow the same Jesus that he followed. I thank God that we had him for so long, but he lived under death threat for almost 60 years. You know what I mean? And the very fact that he was able to hold on for so long and allow his light to shine, we shall never, ever forget him. And when we talk about him, we talk about Helen, his precious mother, Noah, his precious father, Charles, his precious stepfather, and especially Matilda, who's his precious grandmama. That's the sources of the love, integrity, and the style that produced the giant Jesse Louis Jackson Sr.
The thing, Dr. West, that we've sort of been laying out is that Reverend Jackson passes at 84, but you had this continuum, him engaging in North Carolina A&T, joining the movement, Dr. King, Operation Breadbasket, morphing into Push Coalition, Rainbow Push, going from streets to the C-suites, going to Wall Street Project, Automotive Project, Citizenship Education Fund, and then Obama. I had to remind some people who were really upset with his comments about Obama. I said, yeah, but after Obama's there, who was leading the fight for opening up opportunities for black people in Silicon Valley? I said, it was Reverend Jackson. I said, so y'all act like, I said, so you can criticize Reverend, and I was one of the folks who criticized him directly when I had him on WVON radio. I ain't never had the problem, but I also had to remind them while I was criticizing him, I had no problem bringing him back on my show when he was checking Silicon Valley.
Oh, absolutely. And I remember you were there in Chicago. We were talking about Curtis Mayfield way back in 2006 when you had your show. But no, anytime we in a movement together, though, brother, we criticize each other because none of us have a monopoly on truth. But the thing is, the focus is on the suffering of our people. The focus is on the vision that inspires and tries to empower our people. But keep in mind now, my dear brother, that when you think about Jesse, you don't want to skip over, the Baptist churches there in Greenville that shaped him. You don't want to skip over the great Samuel Proctor, who was the president of North Carolina A&T, who allowed Jesse to get in without a letters of recommendation, without even kind of exams. He was going to be the first black quarterback, University of Illinois. White folk couldn't deal with it, so he went back to North Carolina A&T, became the great quarterback and student body president. See, those are the fundamental sources. And of course, there's Precious Jackie, his wife, for 65 years. See, that's the raw stuff that sustained Jesse. And then he meets Martin, and then he takes off and soars like an eagle. And you should keep in mind, brother, he's a Christian minister who's also deep in love with Bobby Blue Bland, who in Bland studying the sermons of Reverend C.L. Franklin. See, Jesse is grounded in black culture at the deepest level, and that makes a difference. He's a spiritual property of the very black people who produced him, and he never, ever forgot about us, man. Never, ever.
Not forget about us. And somebody asked this question the other day. They said, Roland, who gonna give the eulogy? I was like, yeah, because when it came to a lot of major black funerals, Reverend Jackson gave the eulogy.
I know. That's the truth, though, man. Donnie Hathaway, Jackie Robinson, me and Tavis were talking about that on the show this morning, though, man. I mean, I don't think there's anybody worthy to give his eulogy, you know what I mean? But what can you say? What can you say? Somebody's got to be a bona fide Christian preacher who's been washed by the blood at the bottom of the cross and then connect it to the struggle for freedom around the world, be it in the Middle East, be it in Asia, be it in Latin America, be it in the South Side of Chicago, be it in Houston. I know a brother from Houston named Roland Sebastian. Yes, indeed. All of us part of that river I'm talking about with different waves, but the same river, brother.
The thing that, as we move forward, and I keep hearing this, people keep saying, who's next, what's next? What should folk be doing? Because when we look at our freedom fighters, listen, Andrew Young is 95. He's really the last of the civil rights lions. You still got some other folks who are still here, but the reality is that generation, the generation that were involved in the Black freedom movement, who, what I keep saying, the folk who were really involved, 70s, 80s, 90s, and the criticism that I have, Dr. West, is that the criticism that I have is that Gen X, Millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha have been making withdrawals from the Black Bank of Justice and have not been making enough deposits.
Ooh,
these are the people who were going to the city council meeting, the county commissioners meeting, the school board meeting, the state house, who were going to Congress, who were keeping us informed. And this generation simply cannot accept that, oh, if we just tweet it or put it on TikTok, it has the same energy. No, you got to be on the ground touching people, talking to people, working with people. And I think that we got to have more folk who are in this fight, as opposed to saying, well, they got it because those numbers are dwindling, because those folks are becoming ancestors, or they're retiring because they are actually tired.
That's true, though. But, brother, I think the important thing to keep in mind, man, because we come from a great Black people now. And many of us serve a great God. And my Bible says there's always going to be a cloud of witnesses of great courage and commitment and conviction who will speak the truth, who will bear justice, and we don't know who they are. There's no way under God's heaven in October 1941 that people would have chosen Jesse Jackson.
Yep.
We don't know. People wouldn't have chosen Ella Baker. We don't know. Ida B. Wells Barnett, we don't know. We don't know where they're coming from. Usually they're local, but the important thing is they got character, they got backbone, and they got a love of Black people that's connected to solidarity with oppressed.
Well, I think
but we just don't know.
but I think the key, what you just said there, is you have to have a love of Black people. You cannot, you cannot have a love of money. You cannot have a love of things. You cannot have a love of power. You have to have a love of Black people. And when the beginning premise or your foundation is my love of Black people, then everything else builds off from that.
That's exactly it, though, brother. You hit the nail on the head. In addition to that, I would say with the great D'Angelo, we just lost here in the Angie Stone last year. We pray for brother Michael, their son, their grandson. That D'Angelo used to say, my aim is to hold up the torch and pass it on to the younger generation by the example that I am. And that's a profound formulation. We learn it from our musicians. We learn it from our literary figures. You know, yesterday was Toni Morrison's birthday, right? Hey, we shall never, ever forget that. Same was true with Douglas last week. That tradition, that spectrum, that continuum that flows, and it's flowing in the younger generation. It's just that it's weaker and more feeble because they're up against more, but it's there. And God is not going to forsake us and abandon us, brother. And we're not going to abandon each other. No matter how small it seems, we bouncing back. We a bounce back people, brother. We're
a bounce back people, but what I say when people say, man, it's much more difficult, I say, I'm sorry. I cannot compare the water fountains and the dogs to what we deal with right now. I said, but the difference is there was a level of fearlessness where they said, no, I got to be willing to change this. And I say to young brothers and sisters, the couch cannot be an option.
That's the truth. That's the truth. And we want to take
Yep.
it back to Harriet Tubman. Back
Yep.
in the belly of the beast of barbaric slave plantations, each time, why did she go? Because she loved the people.
That's it.
She sacrificed. She served the people. It's much worse for Harriet than it is for us, even though we're dealing with this neo-fascist gangster of Trump and the Trumpism and all of the vicious white supremacy and predatory capitalism and imperialist policies around the world. But we have seen worse, brother.
Yeah.
We got to keep swinging. That's all.
Got to keep swinging. Also, got to keep reading, because if you don't read the history, you don't know where you've been, don't know where you're going. Dr. Cornel West, I appreciate it, Frat. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, they love you, 06, brother.
Yes,
love
sir.
you, man.
Thanks a bunch.